A year ago, I was burned out, distracted, and still doing everything I thought was right. I wasn't lazy. I had discipline. Years of military life gave me that. But that discipline was part of the problem. I didn't need more willpower, I needed a better system. So I spent the last year rebuilding one, and it came down to 10 simple habits that actually got me back on track. So in this video, I'm sharing them because if you're stuck, stretched thin, or tired of feeling behind, hopefully one of these might be the shift you've been looking for. And we're starting with one that might sound simple, but if you skip it, none of the others really matter. When I first joined the military, I used to tell myself, as long as I get 4 hours of sleep, I'm good. And I always had this in my back pocket for those long nights. Fast forward to last year, after doing all my chores at night, I'd stay up late trying to work on my YouTube channel, read or do research. And I thought I was being productive, but I was sabotaging myself. I remember that certain jobs in the military wouldn't even let you operate unless you had at least 8 hours of sleep, because without it, your brain just doesn't work the same. Sleep isn't optional. It's not something you earn after the work. It's the foundation the work depends on. So now I go to bed at the same time every night, and I get at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Your cognitive ability, motivation, and emotional regulation all rely on sleep. Inconsistent sleep leads to inconsistent cortisol levels, which makes you more reactive, more irritable, and less focused. Dr. Matthew Walker explains in Why We Sleep that even short-term sleep loss can spike stress hormones and reduce your brain's ability to regulate emotion by up to 40%. If you feel stuck, foggy, or on edge, this is usually the culprit. Pick a consistent wind down time. Put your phone on the charger on the other side of the room or in another room and use a physical alarm clock if you have to. This way you're not tempted to doom scroll. I now treat my sleep schedule like an appointment I'm not allowed to miss. And in the Marine Corps, you always had to be 15 minutes prior. So I try to be in bed at least 15 minutes prior to my actual bedtime. Now there might be some people in the comments that say I don't have time to sleep 8 hours. And my thoughts for that are that you don't have time not to. Every hour of poor sleep costs you twice as much in wasted focus the next day. Now, once you're actually rested, here's the habit that helped me stop losing hours to distractions. I used to average 10 hours of screen time a day. YouTube videos, podcasts, audiobooks, all focused on business, content strategy, or self-development. Even during my commute, I was learning. At the time, this is what I thought being productive was about, but I never gave myself space to breathe. No quiet, no boredom, just nonstop input. And eventually, I hit a wall. I wasn't coming up with new ideas anymore, and I felt mentally drained all the time. Your brain needs space to focus. Constant stimulation breaks that ability. You don't need to quit social media, you just need boundaries. Schedule daily unplug time. No screens, no notifications. Giving your brain quiet time improves focus, creativity, and energy. Think of it as mental hygiene. So start with 30 minutes. Turn off notifications and put your phone away. Go for a walk, read a book, or just sit in silence. And over time, you can expand it. If you're worried that you're gonna miss something important, remember if it's urgent, they'll call. Being reachable 24/7 doesn't make you more responsible, it just makes you more distracted. Unplugging gave me focus back, but here's what gave me momentum. There were weeks when I'd say, I don't have time for a full workout, so I'd do nothing. But once I started aiming for 20 minutes 5 times a week, I actually stuck with it. Movement creates energy. You don't need intensity, you need consistency. Exercise 5 days a week, even if it's light. Regular movement improves cognitive function, mood, and motivation. Even walking counts. Walk, stretch, weights, body weight circuit, whatever works. Block off a time that works best for your schedule. I work out in my garage first thing in the morning, and this sets the tone for my whole day. If you feel like you don't have time, 20 minutes is 1.3% of your day. So replace scrolling with 20 minutes of movement. Now here's one that sounds obvious, but almost nobody actually does it. I used to start my day with a huge cup of coffee or an energy drink, just to feel functional. I was totally dependent on caffeine, but it came at a cost. I'd get jittery, easily irritated, and crash. I would sometimes even need a second energy drink in the afternoon just to feel human. Eventually I realized the stress that the caffeine was putting on my system just wasn't worth it, so I decided to stop. It wasn't easy, and every once in a while I'll have a cup of coffee because I genuinely enjoy the taste, but now my go-to is water. Hydration became my new baseline. It helps with my muscle recovery, energy, and gives my body what it actually needs to function at a high level. Dehydration feels like fatigue. You don't need more caffeine, you probably need more water. So start your day with water before coffee, and keep sipping throughout the day. While caffeine can give you a short-term boost, it also raises cortisol and blocks adenosine, the very chemical that makes you feel tired. Over time, this disrupts your natural energy cycles and increases anxiety. In the book Why We Sleep, Matthew Walker explains that caffeine has a half-life up to 6 hours, meaning that even a cup in the afternoon can reduce deep sleep by as much as 20% without you even noticing it. He also says most people use caffeine to fix a problem caused by poor sleep or dehydration. What they actually need is water. Even a 1 to 2% dip in hydration levels can cause fatigue, poor concentration, and headaches. Replacing coffee with water helps regulate energy naturally, improves muscle recovery, and avoids the cortisol spikes caffeine can cause. So buy yourself a water bottle that you can take with you anywhere, fill it up before you go to bed, and start drinking it as soon as you wake up. Refill it constantly. Just be careful not to drink too much before bed. I usually try to cut off the water 2 hours before I go to bed, just to avoid having to get up frequently throughout the night. A popular hydration guideline is to drink half of your body weight in ounces per day. I weigh 160 pounds, so I shoot for 80 ounces of water a day, but I actually try to drink a little more than that because I work out 5 days a week. So I'll add on an extra 15 ounces for every 30 minutes of exercise. Once I had the basics covered, this next habit helped me feel more accomplished at the end of each day. For the longest time, I tried to plan my day while I was already in the middle of it. I would just try to go off the top of my head, but I ended up juggling tasks, reacting to emails, and constantly shifting priorities. Every day felt chaotic and overwhelming. But one day I decided to start planning my day before it even began. I woke up knowing exactly what mattered most, and suddenly everything got way easier. Every decision you make during the day drains energy, but planning ahead frees up that energy for doing instead of deciding. So now I spend at least 5 minutes every night outlining my next day. This eliminates the friction of starting and gives your brain a clear path forward. So grab yourself a notebook, or you can just do this in a Google Doc and write down 1 to 3 key tasks. Set your non-negotiable for the day and decide your start time. That's it. Now you can keep your plan in your head. I did this for a long time, but what I found works best is using your brain for solving problems, not storing them. So get it out of your head by writing it down. Once I got in a rhythm, this next habit gave it direction. When I first got into photography and videography, I thought I wanted to shoot weddings. It sounded exciting, creative work, steady demand, decent money. But after shooting a couple of them, I realized what that life actually meant. Working every weekend, missing family time, always being on, it wasn't aligned with the life that I wanted. That experience helped me realize something important. You need to have goals, but you also need to align them with your personal vision. Just because you're good at something or it's a good opportunity doesn't mean it's always right for you. Without clarity on your direction, your energy gets scattered chasing things that don't actually matter to you. Make sure your goals align with your personal vision, not just what you want to do, but the life you want to build. Your brain needs a North Star. When you're clear on your direction, it becomes easier to say no to distractions and yes to what really moves you forward. So write your vision somewhere you'll see it daily, in your notes app, on your mirror, or in a journal. But revisit it every week to check in and make sure that your habits are aligned with it. This next one helped me rebuild trust with myself. I used to tell myself, tomorrow I'm gonna wake up and work out, or this weekend I'm filming 4 videos. But then the morning would come or the weekend would hit and I'd find an excuse not to do it. One time wasn't a big deal, but after breaking those promises to myself over and over, it started to chip away at my confidence. I didn't trust my own word anymore. So I started small but not easy. Just something slightly uncomfortable that I knew I could still follow through on. And that's when things started to shift. Following through even on small things builds momentum. It's not about intensity, it's about identity. So choose one promise to keep to yourself every day. When you follow through consistently, your brain learns I can trust myself. That trust becomes fuel for bigger goals. James Clear put it this way in Atomic Habits: every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. So make one promise to yourself each day. Make it specific, small, and slightly challenging. Not I'll be productive, but instead I'll stretch for 10 minutes after work, or I'll read 10 pages of a book. Then do it every day. Here's the mindset shift that made this whole process more fun. There was a point in my life where I thought most of my circumstances were outside of my control. But then I remembered something from when I was a kid. I used to play The Sims on PC. I really enjoyed designing my character's life, picking routines and improving skills. And one day, it just clicked. What if I looked at my life like that? So I started viewing myself from the third person like a character in a game. My habits became upgrades, hard tasks became quests, and every good decision gave me XP. That simple shift made me more mindful and more intentional with how I live my life. Reframing your progress as a game makes growth feel exciting instead of exhausting. Visualize your daily habits and routines like upgrades to your character, and your goals are now quests. When you zoom out, you're less reactive and more strategic. You stop making choices based on an emotion and start thinking like a systems builder. So write down your dream character or the character you want to become. What's their traits, energy levels, beliefs, habits, and creativity? What daily habits level those up? Keep a tracker or a journal and treat it like progress stats. Now sure, this might seem a little silly or too abstract, but it works. Here's the habit that changed how I ate, slept, and performed without adding complexity. After I got out of the military, my eating habits slipped a little bit. I was grabbing whatever was quick and easy, mostly processed, low-quality food, and slowly I gained a little bit of weight. It didn't feel like much at first, but soon I noticed I was tired all the time, feeling foggy-headed and anxious. That was my wake-up call. What you put in your body directly impacts how you feel and perform every day. Nutrition isn't just about weight, it's about fueling your brain and energy levels. So now I choose whole, nutrient-dense foods and avoid processed junk. Your body and brain need quality fuel to function well. Poor nutrition can lead to fatigue, brain fog, mood swings, and even anxiety. The quality of the inputs affects the quality of the outputs. So start with small changes. Add more veggies and water, cut down on sugar and processed snacks, meal prep when you can to avoid last-minute poor choices. What I do is I batch cook a family pack of chicken breast on Sundays with some steamed vegetables, and it makes all my lunches for the week, and it takes less than an hour. And finally, the habit that ties it all together. For a long time, I was juggling chores, making videos, studying, but it all felt inefficient and exhausting. I was spinning my wheels doing the same task over and over, but not seeing better results. So I took some time to create a plan to make everything smoother. For example, when I meal prep, I have a grocery checklist of all my staple foods, and I do a pickup order every 2 weeks to restock. That way, I'm never scrambling last minute. I did the same thing with my YouTube workflow. Once I had a clear process and checklist, making videos became less stressful and more consistent. Systems help you stop relying on willpower and motivation. They automate good habits and reduce decision fatigue. So now I've created simple, repeatable processes for the important parts of my life and work. Without a system, you waste time and energy reinventing the wheel. Systems keep you consistent and moving forward. So identify the key routines in your life: meal prep, work tasks, exercise. Write down the steps, build checklists or templates to follow, then automate parts like grocery orders or batching tasks. And systems don't have to be perfect or complicated. They're just habits with a little bit of structure. Start small and tweak as you go. I didn't add all 10 habits at once. I started with one, and it gave me more time and energy to add the next. So just pick one and start today. You got this. Now, none of these things will work if you struggle to take action, so I made this video for you to watch next. Keep learning, keep growing, keep going, and I'll see you in the next video.